A new Ukrainian mechanized brigade and its Leopard 2 tanks could strengthen the defense of Pokrovsk just before a possible Russian offensive, writes Forbes. Christmas passed in Pokrovsk in an uneasy silence. The city, an important transport hub in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine, had a population of about 60,000 before Russia began its war against Ukraine in February 2022. Now, there are very few civilians left in the city, mostly Ukrainian army troops. There is an unpleasant silence in the city, the calm before the storm, shared volunteer fighter Denis Khrushchev. This storm has a name, the Russian Army's 90th Guards Tank Division. It is a key element of Russia's powerful ground forces, which include dozens of brigades and regiments across 2 field armies, totaling up to 70,000 troops. These forces are advancing towards Pokrovsk, seeking to capture the city as the war enters its 4th year. The Ukrainian garrison in and around Pokrovsk is considerably smaller, up to 10 brigades, each with no more than 2,000 soldiers. However, the Ukrainians are receiving important support. One of the newest brigades of the Ukrainian armed forces, the 155th Mechanized Brigade, is deployed near the city. It includes German Leopard 2 tanks and French Tsar howitzers, which the brigade received after exercises in France and Poland. Russian forces continue to advance towards Pokrovsk. The nearest units are only 6.4 kilometers from the city, along the 1,287-kilometer front line. Russian troops are conducting offensive operations both in western Russia and in the north, east and south of Ukraine. In the Kursk region, Russian attacks have a separate objective, but their results may affect the future battle for Pokrovsk. According to the Ukrainian Center for Defense Strategies, Russian units south of Pokrovsk are advancing to establish a defensive line that could keep Ukrainian forces from strengthening defenses or breaking the blockade of the city. Ukrainian forces will likely try to counter this by moving several brigades and battalions. After this possible maneuver, another important stage could occur. A short Russian offensive north of Pokrovsk, aimed at partially encircling the city before the main battle for the transport hub begins. By then, the 155th Mechanized Brigade should be fully deployed in Pokrovsk, with German tanks, French howitzers, and 2,000 new troops at its disposal. Whether these forces will be enough to hold the city is a key question in this phase of the war, which has already killed and maimed more than 1 million people, most of them Russians. Let us recall that analysts from the American Institute for the Study of War have stated that Russian troops are gradually advancing near Pokrovsk, but it is not yet known whether they intend to capture the city or plan to advance to the administrative borders of the Donetsk and the Dnipropetrovsk regions as part of the Kremlin's political and informational goal of capturing the entire Donetsk region. Russian dictator Vladimir Putin may have tasked the military with territorial conquests rather than capturing key settlements, analysts say. Geolocation data shows that the occupiers are within 10 kilometers of the administrative border, and Putin may be pressuring the Russian military command to advance towards the border rather than encircle Pokrovsk, the analysts say.
Flights were scheduled to resume again on Friday at Sana'a International Airport, officials said, a day after the airport was hit by Israeli strikes. A new round of Israeli airstrikes in Yemen on Thursday targeted the Houthi rebel-held capital and multiple ports. At least 3 people were reported killed and dozens injured in the airport strike. Today, Friday, we resume our flights at Sana'a Airport on time, Yehya Al-Sayani, Houthi deputy minister of transport, said during a press conference. The Israeli strikes followed several days of Houthi launches setting off sirens in Israel. The Israeli military in a statement said it attacked infrastructure used by the Iran-backed Houthis at the international airport in Sana'a and ports in Hodeidah, Al-Salif, along with power stations, asserting they were used to smuggle in Iranian weapons and for the entry of senior Iranian officials. Israel's military added it had capabilities to strike very far from Israel's territory precisely, powerfully, and repetitively. The strikes came a day after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the Houthis, too, will learn what Hamas and Hezbollah and Assad's regime and others learned as his military has battled those more powerful proxies of Iran. The Houthi-controlled satellite channel Al Masirah reported multiple deaths and showed broken windows, collapsed ceilings and a blood-stained floor and vehicle. Iran's foreign ministry condemned the strikes. The U.S. military also has targeted the Houthis in recent days. Over the weekend, 16 people were wounded when a Houthi missile hit a playground in the Israeli city of Tel Aviv, while other missiles and drones have been shot down. Last week, Israeli jets struck Sana'a and Hodeidah, killing 9 people, calling it a response to previous Houthi attacks. The Houthis also have been targeting shipping on the Red Sea corridor, calling it solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza.
اليوم يوم الجمعة نستأنف رحلاتنا في مطار صنعاء في الموعد المحدد حسب الجدولة. تطير الرحلة الساعة 10 صباحا بعد الاستهداف الذي شنه العدوان الإسرائيلي المدعوم من أمريكا يوم أمس الساعة 4 عصرا.
نحب أن نؤكد لكم هناك بدائل لدى إدارة المطار، خطة لأسوأ الاحتمالات سواء في التجهيزات أو حتى على مستوى مبنى الترحيل. هناك بدائل لتسيير الرحلات والمحافظة على الجاهزية التشغيلية للمطار. ليست المرة الأولى التي يستهدف المطار، ونحن جاهزون على مدار الساعة لتشغيل المطار وإصلاح الأضرار وإيجاد البدائل.